Hi, Year 12. Welcome back to term 2. This term we're going to look at family for the majority, and then we'll move into looking at consumers. In a couple of weeks, we'll be going back to face-to-face teaching, so we'll just go back to the traditional way of teaching, and if these recordings are something that you want, I can continue to do those for you. Now, the previous slides were just your usual past questions and your syllabus document. This page here is going to come up in all your PowerPoint presentations, and it's basically looking at what we're actually going to do over the next 5 weeks. So what you'll see this week starting, we'll be looking at adoption, divorce, legal consequences of separation, and then some revision. And then as we go on, you'll see what else is going to be taught. The only thing that I want you to do is just tick these things off so you are aware of where we're at and where we're going, just so you don't miss out on any work in case you are away for any particular reason. Now, last term we looked at these themes and challenges, and I just wanted to go over these 5 themes and challenges again with you, because this essentially is where you're actually going to get your HSC questions from, or you'll be given questions. The first one, the role of law in encouraging cooperation and resolving conflict in regard to family, issues of compliance and non-compliance, changes to family law as a response to changing values in the community. And we've already seen a little bit of that when we're looking at the legal rights and obligations of parents and children last term, alternative family arrangements, and also the legal requirements of marriage. 4, the role of law reform in achieving just outcomes for family members and society. So anywhere there's a change, then we bring it back to law reform. And 5, the effectiveness of legal and non-legal responses in achieving just outcomes for family members. So we're going to look at what does that legal aspect mean, and what is the non-legal what are the non-legal responses, and they're usually the things that drive the legal responses. So as per the schedule, today we're looking at adoption. Now, adoption, if we look at what the definition is, and this is something that you'll be putting into your extended response questions to introduce that till paragraph. Adoption is the process of transferring parental rights and responsibilities from the biological parents to the adoptive parents. The aim is to ensure that the best and most appropriate parents are found for the child. The needs of the adult are going to come secondary to the child. Again, there's that term, best interests of the child, and the adoption is a state responsibility under the Adoption Act 2000, New South Wales. So here are a few requirements when it comes to adoption. In regards to adoption, both parents must consent to the adoption. If it's a single mother, then only the mother needs to consent. The father has to be notified, but he's given 14 days to respond. Children over the age of 12 can consent to their adoption. The birth mother cannot consent to adoption within 3 days of the child's birth. And obviously that's because of the altered state of mind that a mother is in when she does give birth. Once consent is given, there's a 30-day revocation period where you can change your mind. You can withdraw that consent, for any particular reason. and the court can give consent if parents cannot be found. So if a child is left at the hospital or parents cannot be found for any particular reason, then the court can offer that consent. Now, when we're looking at who can adopt, there's a lot of guidelines that you need to meet. Now, married couples and those on in stable de facto relationships, including same-sex couples, individuals who are not in a relationship can apply as single applicants. And I think when you go through that process, they look at your support network, they look at your background, they look at how you can best look after this child on your own. So there's a lot of hoops that you need to jump through. Applicants must be over 21 but under 51 years of age. And I think they give that maximum age there because they want to know that you're going to be able to look after that child in the long term while they're a dependent, up until the age of 18. Prospective male parents must be at least 18 years older than the child, and the female parent must be at least 16 years older than the child. Unless I think in a situation where it's a family adoption, so maybe parents are not around anymore and an older sibling takes on that responsibility for that child. The applicant must be of good repute, be a fit and proper parent. You're placed on a waiting list. The decision as to who will adopt is based on the best interest of the child. Overseas adoptions have gained popularity due to reduced numbers of children available domestically for adoption. The Hague, the Convention on Protection of Children and Cooperation in respect to inter-country adoption, is the international convention that governs inter-country adoption. So they really need to be careful that people are not going to exploit these children, and this child is going to the best possible home. So after we have natural disasters and there's a whole lot of kids that are left without their parents, that's when you get huge numbers of kids that are available for adoption. Now, when we're looking at, adoption and the difficulties that we face, now there's fewer and fewer children available for adoption these days. One is effective contraception, abortion. It's not, social stigma to be unmarried, have children outside of a marriage, and single mothers, raising these children. So that's where we have less and less children available. And because of this, people turn to alternatives. So that might be overseas adoption. They might look at birth technology so they can have their own child, or they might go down the path of surrogacy, which is having someone else have this child for you and then hand that over to you, for you to keep. Now, with arguments for and against adoption, overseas adoption, so arguments for children from poor countries have the opportunity of a level of emotional and material care which they would not receive in their own country. The level of care a child can receive if adopted by an Australian couple should outweigh any possible cultural difficulties he or she might experience. Now, the arguments against that is where overseas adoption opens the way for exploitation of poor families. So what you've generally got in these developing countries are agents, and those agents will potentially exploit these family members and say, look, we'll give you this money if you hand this child over, and then that then becomes a cost to me if I was to adopt a child over there. So exploitation through money. It is morally wrong for children to be bought and sold, which can occur with overseas adoption. So you've got a bit of a black market for it. Children raised in a different culture may experience great difficulty in attaining a sense of identity and self-esteem because they've been cut off from their cultural heritage. So I guess in this instance, do you find, local families that are of the same background to, allow for that continuity of culture? Now, last term, I had given you this article which was looking at care and protection of children and the obligations that parents have to their children. Now, this couple had this baby, Gloria. Gloria suffered from severe eczema. They took the child to clinics. The clinic nurses recommended that they go and see various people. This man, Thomas, was a homeopath, so he said, I'll treat it with my sort of home remedies. That didn't work. And at the age of 9 months, this baby actually died. The parents were then charged with manslaughter, but they only received jail sentences with non-parole periods of 6 and 4 years respectively. So should he have been given a bigger sentence because he knew what could have happened, being a trained homeopath? Now, the questions you had there: define manslaughter by criminal negligence, show how the SAMs were negligent, do you agree with the conviction and sentence given to the SAMs, give reasons for your answer. Now, over the next couple of slides, I've got some articles there for you to read on that, and these are the articles that I want you to put into your notes because it's important. There are so many of these questions. Now, this child was neglected because this child was in the care of their parents, and as a parent, it's your responsibility to do everything you can and to listen to the doctors, especially when, in this case, the doctor said this was probably the worst case that they have seen. Now, what I'd also like you to do is research R versus Bodnar and discuss why the sentence given to Bodnar is lower than that given to the SAM. So Google that case and you'll be able to find some information. So next lesson, we'll actually look at that. Thanks, guys.